here. And I'm probably thinking we're going to get some of that on Wednesday. So let's go now to our friend from Fox 29, Garry Cobb, who covers the team. Garry, what's been your sense over the week here and over the weekend of all the conversation that's been going on with this team?
Wait, say that again?
What's your sense of what you've seen last week and what you're hearing on, and if you're cool with the fact that there looks like it's trending that they're going to bring Sirianni back?
Well, I knew they were going to bring Sirianni back. I didn't think they were going to fire him because I thought that with all the positive things, especially, there was a time this year when they're getting ready to give him the palace. I mean, whatever, when they were 10-1. And of course, they were in the Super Bowl last year. They almost won the Super Bowl last year. I thought that would be too drastic. I don't think that Jeffrey Lurie would like to do something that drastic where a guy, after he gets out of the Super Bowl and he was 10-1, and then all of a sudden he's out of a job. But I think it was very frustrating that you couldn't have had things get worse for a team to really just play so poorly down the stretch. That I figured something had to be done. And I don't think they were happy with the coordinators because of the move that was made during the middle of the season. And then to have the defense play even worse. I mean, you basically fire the coordinator without firing him. You send him up there to just kind of twiddle his thumbs. And then the defense plays worse. So obviously, just wasn't a smart decision. If you're really changing the defense, if you were just bringing in somebody to maybe you didn't think the way he was calling the defenses was wrong, but you're going to change everybody. You can't do that at the last minute because you have to get that drilled into you, a certain defense, the way you can play it fast. You got to know that you know exactly what you got to do. And because if you're there's a certain part of your brain that you utilize to play defense, really to play the game. And you're just reacting because you got it drilled in you so much. And if you got to cognitively think, you're done, you're beat. So you can't do that. So you can't change anything. So that's why it makes me feel like somebody that's not football oriented makes that move. Can't make that move. Because
Garry, what I don't like is, so you fired Sirianni, or you fired Desai twice in the last 2 months. You fired him, like you said.
That's right.
Kind of 2 months ago.
Correct.
Now you turn around and you fire him again yesterday. I mean, there's a way to do. And look, and I'm not saying he should have kept his job, but what I'm saying is there's a way to be a professional about going about your business. And I found that to be a little bit unprofessional from the organization itself. And it just seems that there's been a lot of unprofessional moves and comments over the last 3 months since this meltdown. I mean, is this the last? Are they using these coordinators as scapegoats to give Nick one more shot to prove that he's the head coach of the Eagles?
Well, Nick is, probably in certain ways, there's some guys would have said, well, then fire me. They wouldn't want to do what Nick's got to do now. Because really, Nick is in the same position in a way.
Yeah.
He's kind of been fired because, you don't like what he's doing. He was telling, according to him, he was telling Brian Johnson, he was telling him what to do, and so in a way, they.
Well, how do you keep your job then if you're the guy giving him the intel and you're telling everyone this is my offense? I hired these guys.
Yep.
How are you keeping your job then?
Well, just that they do not want to fire the coach this quickly. To me, that's what I see. And because I'm going like, I couldn't see them doing that because that seems like such a rash, such a, emotional decision because, hey, this guy was in the Super Bowl last year, and this year he made the playoffs. He was 11-6, and he got hit with the machete. I don't think they want that on the resume to say, well, we did that. So that's the only reason he's here. But ultimately, he was running the show. He's the one that had his hands. I don't like the way he talks about offense. I'm going like Nick comes out there with that chunk play stuff. Look, that's garbage. You can't run chunk plays because you throw into the teeth of a good defense, you're going to throw interceptions. You throw interceptions, you lose. You turn the ball over in the NFL, you lose. So you can't do that. You got to be patient. You basically are calling the shots. You take what the defense gives you. Okay, you want to give us 5? We take it. All right? 4 yards, we take it. 3. But we can keep the sticks moving. Eventually, you got to come up and take that away. You can't keep letting them, march the ball down the field on you. So eventually, you're going to either blitz, you're going to do something because you got to in order to take, stop them from moving the ball on you. And that's when a good offense, they cut your throat because they go downfield now. They got a guy one-on-one that you don't want the guy one-on-one against that. Let's say they got a receiver they think is better. He gets open, boom. Now they go with the big things. And that's what Montana did for years. That's what Brady did. The best quarterbacks, they will take what you give them until you start coming after them. They go, okay, now we're going to cut you up.
How about this, Gary?
That's what I think that good offenses do. If you just try to force the ball downfield, come on. A good defense is you're going to get interceptions. You get interceptions, you lose.
How about this, Gary? There was no coincidence yesterday or when you watched the divisional games, the exceptional linebacker play that was played out. I mean, even the Lions linebackers they closed the game out, the linebackers, even the second team Bills linebackers. And I don't think there's any coincidence that the Ravens and the Niners have the 2 best duos and they're hosting conference championship games. I mean, that can't just be by coincidence that the Eagles don't have anybody to play the position. And you're seeing all these successful teams with great units.
Well, the game has changed, since I was playing. It's changed, meaning your linebackers, they got to be great athletes. You can't have guys out there that just, maybe years ago they could hit, but they weren't the best athletes. You have got to have outstanding athletes because they got to be able to run with wide receivers at times.
Yeah, you're not going to see Levon Kirkland's any longer out there, just big dudes in the middle. They got to be like dual threat kind of linebackers that can play cover 2 and fill a gap.
That's right. They got to be able to cover a wide receiver in a space.
Yep.
That means they got to have quickness. They got to be good athletes. And if they are, they shine. I mean, there are difference makers because now they make those open field tackles. Let's say they can cover a guy in space, a very good athlete, a wide receiver in that space. And they got to know the game too. They need to be smart. And so if you got all those credentials, you're a special player. So that's what you got to have. And maybe you have some safeties that can go in and do a lot of that too. Good safeties that, will tackle. And I tell you, I look at Steve Spagnuolo and what he's done. I like the job he does.
I'll tell you what they did. You know what was really smart? Mm-hmm. Think about what they've done the last 2 years to open up the window now for Mahomes to be extended. Mm-hmm. They got rid of Tyreek Hill, one of the greatest deep threats in NFL history. They win a Super Bowl without him, but they take that money, Gary. Do you know they spend only $60 million in cap money for their entire defensive unit this past year?
Wow.
And you got $30 million tied up in 2 corners in Philly that underproduced, that did not produce for you.
Yeah.
And what they did was they retooled that defense, like you said. That's 3 years ago, that unit didn't look like that. Now that unit is a good unit.
I mean, they've got outstanding guys who Well, you got young kids who will cover and do all that, but they will tackle. Eagles, come on. I can't say the Eagles have those kind. Come on. They might have one or two guys that really will tackle. These guys will come up and get after you. They're aggressive. You're going like, man, where do they get these kids from? They play aggressive football. And then mentally, Spags, he's not giving you anything, and that kind of football, man, it's a lot of pressure on a quarterback when he play against them because they're really not giving you anything,
The passing lanes are not open.
No.
They really do a great job of that.
And then the way with the slot, man, they're blitzing that guy off that slot.
Yep.
And those guys will come up, like I said, they will tackle. They're aggressive.
How about the way?
I don't know if they're going to be able to keep all those kids once they start getting paid, though. They can't keep all those kids.
How about the way Glenn was blitzing those Lion safeties and those corners off the edge? The Bucs had no way. I mean, it just shows you when you're aggressive a little bit and you're bringing pressure with guys that are quality guys that you can get home. I mean, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be interesting to see who they hire as a coordinator. Now, let me go here with you.
Correct.
A guy was on a last hour and brought this up, and I wonder if you subscribe to this. They threw the name Ron Rivera, and I told everyone, hey, Ron Rivera is a heck of a defensive-minded guy. He played on that 85 Bears team. He was really good in San Diego when the team was there. He was the D coordinator there for Marty. Yeah. He's a good coordinator, man, and he's a good defensive-minded guy. All that being said, do you think when you float a name like that out and the Eagles float that name out that they're interviewing him, that's the kind of guy that if you bring in him or a Wink Martindale or a Frank Reich and you bring these guys who have former head coaching experience and are coordinators, doesn't that kind of put Nick in a box in a way where, because last year, think about it, he had no experience at the coordinators whatsoever, which meant probably he had a little more autonomy in the building. Mm-hmm. Isn't this a way of the Eagles closing that control more up by having more experienced guys being brought in?
Well, I know Rivera, he will work along with him. He's not the kind of guy that is going to come in and really try to take over from the, he's not that kind of guy because I've known him for years. So, he's not going to do that. I don't know about, any of the other guys, but I know Rivera that he's not that kind of guy that's going to do that. So he doesn't have to worry about that with him. So I wouldn't say it's a problem because Ron Rivera is a very easygoing guy. He's not a guy that's going to be stabbing people in the back, and that's just not him. He's not that type of guy. Now,
plus he worked with Buddy.
Yeah, he worked with he played for Buddy.
Yep.
So with Ron, all the time I've known him, like I said, he's not the kind of guy that's going to backstab somebody and be doing that kind of stuff. That's not him. He's a straight up guy. If anything, like you don't hear him, throwing guys to the wolves. You don't hear a lot from him. He doesn't do those kind of things. So I don't think he'll have a problem with him.
How about this?
Yeah.
There's now some reports out there about Jalen's attitude. And and this as well as anybody, Gary, when shit hits the fan, things are going to be made bigger than what they actually probably really are. However, same guy that reported on the Wentz thing is reporting on this as well. Yeah. That, he was kind of.
I know him. I know him too. Yeah.
But what do you make of that? I mean, because I don't want to pollute that either. What do you make of that?
I think there's some things going on with Jalen, and I've said this before about his whole life changing, all the stuff going on, and for him to deal with everything. But what he's got to realize is he's in a position of power, because of his contract. He got guaranteed contract, millions and millions of dollars. I know he wants to win. Okay, the guy wants to win. You got to be honest. He's got to go in there and be honest sometime. Go, hey, look, I don't like this. I don't think this helps me. I'm not a better quarterback when I got this situation, that situation. Because I mean, to go into, that situation with the blitzes and all that stuff, if you got people, especially like you it's not easy to throw them to the wolves, maybe, but he's got to be open, and they got to get an offense that he flourishes in, and they got to play smart football. And that whole stuff, that's why that chunk stuff, I don't believe in that. You don't throw the ball in the teeth of a defense just because you want to get chunk plays. You got to take what they give you, because you can't turn the ball over. If you look at the guys that have been champions, you can't turn the ball over in the NFL. I mean, that's why, people are going home yesterday. You turn the ball over, you're going home. You don't even make it there if you're turning the ball over. So from that standpoint,
you know what else is becoming evident now? And I wonder, Gary, if when they took away the play calling duties from Nick, if that didn't start the sand starting to come out of the job lamp. And what I mean by that is Kyle Shanahan, play calling NFL head coach, it insulates you from losing coordinators when you have a guy like that. Then you look at what's going on in you got a head coaching candidate up in Detroit. You got a really good, high quality coordinator around him. You look at what Harbaugh has with Todd Monken.
That's right.
I mean, even Matt LaFleur and what he's done with guys like Jordan Love.
Yeah.
I mean, you just looked around the building, all these great coordinators that were with all these, even Baker Mayfield, that Canales kid.
Yep.
I mean, they all look at Joe Brady with Josh Allen. I mean, and then there was Jalen Hurts with nobody, and then with Nick, who was a 2-5 head coach play caller. I mean, how much do you think that has been also something there? Because when you lose Steichen, it just looked like you lost his development.
I'll tell you, that point you're making is clearly something that's very important, which is you got your offensive mind is your head coach, meaning like he's calling the plays. He's the guy that's designing everything, and he's cutting edge. Eagles aren't cutting edge.
No.
Look at that offense. That's not a cutting edge offense.
It's a one-on-one offense.
Yeah, come on. I look at the way you got these teams, whether you look at, even though San Francisco struggled there on Saturday, you see the way Shanahan, he dials things up. Now, when Debo went down, boy, I tell you, that offense, it's like you took air out of it,
It sputtered.
So, yeah, because a lot of the things they like to do with him, with the guards, with that motion and the way they utilize him, and they get that ball in his hands on the run, and you basically got a halfback on the run with the football. He's not just a regular, a wide receiver. So, you could see why the Eagles, you don't see them utilizing A.J. Brown like that. Well, you got the ball in the hands of a great athlete on the move, It's just something about that the way the 49ers do that. And then you look at what the Packers, LaFleur has done, and you see the minds of those offensive coordinators, those head coaches, really. They're really combination of the two.
Yeah.
You got to know that the Eagles would look at that and go, man, we would like to have one of those guys.
They thought they hired that.
Maybe they did. But unfortunately, I don't like, come on. All those problems with the blitz, you can't have a design. Come on, man. How you going to go into a game like that? Come on. And see, with Jalen, he's the kind of guy who was raised by, stern father. So he's not quick to go against authority. He's got to speak out. Come on. He got to go out. Look, this is your responsibility, Jalen. We got to get the right guy in here with the right offense. And that means they really need to pluck somebody from one of those other staffs. Sharp guy, young guy underneath who's got that same kind of creativity, They got to get one of those guys off of those staffs, because really they're ahead of the rest of the league. And man, they're on the attack, but they've got to, come on. It's 2024. We need a 2024 offense, not a 2018 offense.
And that one last question for you here.
Yeah.
You know, it's about the Eagle job, and maybe one of the reasons why they're bringing Sirianni back. And I've been bringing this up. Think about this, Gary. If they had fired him, here's a coach that would have taken a team to the playoffs 3 years in a row, has a 667 win percentage.
Yeah.
And if they had fired him, doesn't that send a message to potential candidates that you would say, no matter what I do, no matter what kind of success I have, the organization doesn't look at that position as a priority position? Because if you're willing to change that out, I mean, Gary, at the end of the day, no matter what you do at that head coaching position, there's a chance they can replace you. And now you start looking, Andy Reid, the job that Doug's doing down in Jacksonville, you're starting to see people go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a guy that's winning and he's on the hot seat. I mean, am I right when I say that the impression wouldn't look good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think this is something, the reason that they're not making the move, because they clearly didn't like what they saw. Who could have liked what you saw this year? You got a team 10-1, just goes into the tank, comes out against Tampa. What? Come on, Tampa's nothing to be where you could get all, worked up about Tampa.
Agreed.
And you just laid an egg there. I mean, the team's playing with no life. You're going like, what is going on with this team? Clearly, they don't like some of the things. Guys do not believe in what we're doing, and so they're not believing in what they're doing. So you got to have some sharp. You got guys with ideas, fresh ideas, aggressive, and that's what they want to see. And we'll see what they do, especially on both sides of the ball. But they clearly, anybody, I mean, somebody that's not even really a big football fan could see this stuff is just something is wrong here.
You think they bring experienced coordinators in this time, like really big time experienced guys?
I could see that on the defensive side. I think offensively, they got to go ahead and peel for some of the talent on some of these other teams. Like I say, you got these bright young, head coach who's offensive coordinator and everything, and he went ahead and he's got somebody else with that type of mindset. That's what you got to go in there. They can work with Jalen and grow with them and everything. But you got to be they got to be able to utilize all the things, like the way the guys utilize motion. Come on, Eagles barely send anybody in motion. Way these teams are utilizing motion and they're aggressive. I don't see how you can have this team here with these weapons you got on this team without having somebody with some bright ideas. They got to come in there and really excite. Maybe they excite Nick or excite Howie and all of them and Jeffrey with the way they want to attack defenses. And I would get to snooping around, the Rams. I'd be over there looking at their staff. I'm going to look at Green Bay staff. I'm going to look at some of these other teams. I'm looking at their staff.
They're looking at that Zach Robinson kid off the Rams staff that works with McVay. He's the passing game coordinator. And it's kind of the same dynamic, Gary, that Mike Holmgren had. You had a passing game coordinator, and that's kind of what Andy was when he was up in Green Bay.
That's what they got to do. If you ask me, that's what they got to do. They got to get somebody, some sharp ideas, who's at the edge, of what they're doing in the NFL now, because the Eagles got the weapons. They got to utilize them.
Would you be open to a guy like Cliff Kingsbury?
Well, I let him come in.
He's a quarterback coach right now at Southern Cal.
I know. I'm going to interview him.
Worked with Kyler Murray and Mahomes, and he's worked with Caleb Williams, and he obviously worked with Lincoln Riley, and Lincoln Riley worked with Jalen. So, I mean, there's kind of a connection there a little bit in the RPO. I mean, again, I think sometimes, Gary, when people get in and fall into the trap, they look at the guy and go, well, this guy sucks as a coach. No, he may suck as a head coach, but does he suck at developing and finding talent and scheming guys up? Yeah. Because as well as I do, Wade Phillips was a was a mediocre head coach, but as defensive coordinator, he'll go down as one of the best defensive coordinators in NFL history.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. I mean, you know, you're looking for, you know, and you get in that meeting room and you know, you could get somebody that you could see their ideas, that they're sharp and they're ready to develop and continue developing. See, that's what they need. They need that kind of environment. And I think one of the big things, though, is, you know, Jalen has got to speak his mind, you know, and because I don't think he was open to probably the way things are struggling. He doesn't like something. Look, you got to come in there and throw some stuff. Hey, you got to let the people know what you're thinking, because right now, in a way, you're kind of an owner. You're not just a player.
No, you got a seat at the board of directors table now. You've got to be able to vent your opinion.
Yes. And not apologize for it.
Yeah.
You know, I know he doesn't want to be, he wouldn't want to be out on the TV cutting up his teammates or cutting up anybody. He's not that kind of guy. But he has got to make sure he lets them know what he's going to feel the most comfortable with. What does he want to do? Because you know he wants to win. But you can see, like I said, what guys are saying by his body language, he don't believe in what we're doing. You're sitting over there, man. You got the same thing coming in your ear, man. You know.
Yeah, agreed. I got you here, Gary. I appreciate it very much, man. I mean, I can't wait to the Kumbaya session on Wednesday. They'll be throwing hugs and kisses.
Hey.
Oh, by the way, I got to leave you with this. Let me say something to you about a national treasure or a Philly treasure. That Jason Kelce jumping out of that booth. I don't know. Hey, man, I'll tell you what. He saved his brother's ass, Travis Kelce, with that stupid shit that he did to Taylor Swift or Travis Swift. I don't know. He's doing the love thing. His brother's doing high hurdles out of the box in the snow with no shirt on and no shoes. Dude, who's a bigger Philly treasure, Barkley or Jason Kelce?
Well, I think, you know, right now, I mean, you know, Kelce got a championship. Charles didn't win anything here. Charles didn't win anything. You know, of course, Charles was a great personality here, but, you know, Kelce, especially when he got out there and he went off and he, you know, with the speech he gave and everything, he is a Philadelphia treasure. There's no doubt about that, man. The dude.
Hey, dude, and by the way, I love the fact he didn't spill any spillage. He's got a beer in his hand. He jumps out of the booth. Then he's walking back up. He guns it and jumps back in. I'm like, this guy's a goat. He's one of the greatest. And I'll tell you what, can you imagine him and Gronk? Like,
I know.
Party,
man. Wow.
Those two guys.
I guess they let both of them get a few drinks in them, man. You better look out.
Holy cow. Gary, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Hey, one last thing. They better make sure they're not on a channel with just the kids listening and everything, you know. You get a few in those guys, man.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate
take it easy.
Gary. That's really awesome, man. Absolutely great stuff there. Don't forget, you can catch Gary on Fox 29 covering the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.